Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV and Radio, where wisdom meets experience. Join a dynamic lineup of thought leaders, professionals, and changemakers from around the world. Dr. Madeline Chan from the UK, Mariska Dupreya from Australia, Red O'Loughlin from Texas, USA, Carolyn Heward from the UK, Zunette Lub from Cape Town, South Africa, as they share expert insights, personal journeys, and impactful strategies for success. Talking Heads isn't just a show, it's a global stage for education, collaboration, and inspiration. So elevate your knowledge, expand your perspective, engage in conversations that matter. Streaming globally, empowering locally, this is Talking Heads, only on USA Global TV and Radio.
Howdy, y'all. Red O'Loughlin here. We're on Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Today, my topic is 6 vital moves that can transform your health and extend your life. And probably just is easy just to jump right into it. So we go ahead and load up my slides and we'll go from there because it's a fairly long slide collection today. There we go. First one. This is a live streaming show, not a podcast, although they will show up on podcast down the road. But we're found on Amazon Fire, Zizzle TV, E360 TV, YouTube, Android TV, Apple TV, social media, and more. I have 2 simulcasts going on right now with my Facebook channels. And for everything that we're talking about today, it's for awareness and education. And specifically, if there's something here today that sounds great and you want to do it, please talk to your physician first or your pharmacist, especially if you're on any kind of prescription medication. I'm not expecting anything to be a problem, but it's always wise to seek those who know more about what your physical health is about. My website, redolaughlin.com, that's R-E-D, like the color of my red hair, red. O'Loughlin, O-L-A-U-G-H-L-I-N. redolaughlin.com. All my contact information is there. All my books can be found there, and as well as many other places. All the shows on the USA Global TV and Radio Network are found on YouTube. We have live shows, all the archives. There's actually 2 different YouTube channels. But go to YouTube, type in USA Global TV and Radio, and you'll be able to find just about anything you're looking for. I also have a collection of the TV shows on my website, redolaughlin.com. I'm a researcher, never been in the medical or pharmaceutical field. I fell in love with chemistry sophomore year in high school, got a degree in it. I also got a bunch of extra degrees after that and several professional certifications. I went in the Navy, ended up there 31 plus years, got a chance to fly for 16 of those years. Naval flight officer. I've been to 62 countries. But what I do nowadays, I research the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. Treat symptoms, yeah, you might feel better, but the cause is still there. It hasn't gone away. I've been married 57 years, a couple kids, 3 grandkids, and 1 great-grandson. Best-selling author, 6 books, independent publisher. I've published over 50 books for people. Distinguished Toastmaster, written over 1,000 original content articles on LinkedIn. And again, a reminder, this presentation today is for educational purposes only. On the USA Global TV and Radio Network, I'm an international TV host. Last year, I was ranked as number 2 and number 4 on my shows. And for 6 months of this year, I was very fortunate to capture the number 1 ranking. One of the books I talk about, or I have written here, is The Joy of Ageless Health. I go into what causes disease to happen in the body. And I go into it in a lot of detail in this particular book. And I was looking around, what do I have that people might be able to benefit from? Well, this book probably is a nice supplement for what I'm talking about today. Okay. Why do we care about our health so much when we get older? It's one of several things: our financial health, our spiritual health. There's just all sorts of things. But as we get older, our brain doesn't get any older. Our body physically gets older. Lots of things are happening. But the risk of having something that's going to really and truly affect your life, your ability to do things, your ability to enjoy your family, travel, anything that really and truly hits your passion. And heart disease is the number 1 leading cause of death, but it's also the number 1 leading cause of being dependent on others. Cancer, number 2. However, cancer disproportionately affects people older. You're not going to find a bunch of teenagers with the same risk of cancer that you would with 65-year-olds. Your chronic respiratory diseases, COPD and others, infections, pneumonia, etc., stroke, diabetes, arthritis, falls, osteoporosis. A lot of things are happening as we get older. Kidney disease, hearing loss, vision loss. I can tell you both of those. Vision loss, not so much, although I do have dry eye. Hearing loss, very definitely. Chronic pain, depression, mental health concerns. And of course, you always have balance issues, falls, injuries. You could be perfectly fine and you turn the corner, lose your balance, boom. Now, all of a sudden, you're in the hospital for a couple of nights, you get a cast on. Just a lot of things affect our life as we get older. Now, recently I did a series of presentations on the hallmarks of aging and the hallmarks of health. I went into a really deep dive as to what really happens in the human body as we age, and what can we do to maintain our health. Well, the common thread that I found that ran through all of them was that 95% of the time, the lifestyle choices that we make every day are those things that affect our aging, our health, and we'll talk about those today. But the lifestyle choices, your diet, your stress, your exercise, your sleep, all of those kinds of things are the things that we make decisions about. Well, today I want to go into some detail about 6 options. Basically, they are diet, blueberries, and there's a reason why blueberries is there, carnosine, lithium, resveratrol, and curcumin. Those are the 6. You don't have to wait till the very end to find out what they are. They each have advantages. They lower the age-related risk of disease, and they support longevity, and they lower the risk of mortality. So there's a lot of things in there. We're going to be going into each one of them. The Journal of American Medical Association did a study 2024, and they found that a particular diet, the Mediterranean diet, which is the number 1 diet right now in 2025, gave about a 23% reduction in all mortality risks. So as you're looking at heart, cancer, all the breathing. Anyway, a lot of risks. If you adopted this diet, then those risks are really and truly reduced. Well, what did they do? They looked at a number of different things. They looked at biomarkers for cardiovascular health, inflammation, kidney health, kidney function, diabetes risk. And the test basically looks specifically at homocysteine. It's a test that I get every year. I think it's a decent test. It used to be the gold standard for heart health. There's a thing called the triglyceride-rich lipoproteins. Lipoprotein is a group of proteins that connect with fat and move them down the road to wherever they need to go. So if you can measure that, that's a measurement of your long-term health. C-reactive protein, when you start having a lot of inflammation in the body, The body produces a protein called C-reactive protein, and it's very easily measurable. You want it as close to zero as possible. It's another blood test that I get every year on my annual physical. Creatine, lipoprotein, insulin resistant index score. And that's basically looking at all the different subfactors of your cholesterol, the lipoproteins that are there, the LDL, and other ones. And they basically rate it on a scale, and they said, if it's this rate, your chance of diabetes is pretty high. If it's down here, it's different. And so each of these blood tests are evaluated along with body mass, and they come up with, you're probably going to live a long time if you don't fall down and break something. But and as I mentioned, 2025, the Mediterranean diet is number one. But why does it really work in the body? Well, as we take a deeper dive into what can transform your health and extend your life, well, we have these things that are called senescent cells. And senescent cells, zombie cells, these are cells that should have already died a natural death in the body, but didn't. And they create a lot of havoc because as they start to accumulate them, your immune system normally can take care of them, but if you get overridden with too many, now you have a problem. The Mediterranean diet limits them. It lowers the inflammation. Again, C-reactive protein. It reduces the rate of loss of telomeres. To me, two main causes of aging, one of which is telomeres. There's actually about a dozen causes of aging, but the two I like to refer to a lot. One is telomere. At the end of your DNA, that little spiral thing, it goes down, you have a caplet on there that holds everything together. Well, as a cell replicates and becomes two different cells, you lose just a little bit of that caplet at the end. That's a telomere. And if you're in pretty good health, you lose just a little bit. But if you're a smoker, overweight, and everything else, now you're losing a bigger chunk. And so if I can reduce the rate loss of those telomeres, I'm going to live a longer period of time. It reduces, again, Mediterranean diet, reduces mitochondrial dysfunction. We have happier cells are producing the energy we need to do. It reduces the oxidative stress. And it allows the healthy pathways that we have in our body to open up and provide the places we need to go. What is a Mediterranean diet? Most of us have heard of it. It's essentially using extra virgin olive oil instead of our typical standard American diet that we're using vegetable oils. Now, when you look at oils, you have your omega-3, omega-6, and if they're pretty close to being equal, that's fine. But if you get more than 4-to-1 vegetable oil, your omega-6 to omega-3, the body, even though these things we have a problem because when it starts getting me 6, 10, 20-to-1 of vegetable oil to fish oil, say, your omega-6 to omega-3, that becomes inflammatory in the body. And so if I'm looking at EVOO, that's omega-9 oil, and that's something that helps us. But basically fish, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, nuts, dairy. Very definitely limited on meat, any kind, especially processed meat, refined grains, saturated fats, and what they call foods that have advanced glycation, advanced glycation end products. So in other words, I'm cooking at a high temperature and I sear something, I have nice charcoal marks on it from the grill outside. Those black marks, even though they taste great, are the things that create problems in our health long term. So that's number one, was the Mediterranean diet. Number two, blueberries. Who would ever think a simple thing like a blueberry could be very valuable to us? Actually, more valuable than you think. Pterostilbene is a primary factor in blueberries, and it mimics what's called caloric restriction. If you feed animals 20-30% less calories than their peers, they found that the animals live longer, they look better, they're healthier, especially as they age. But however, when they do it for humans, we haven't had enough time in order to really and truly say, well, it's going to work in animals, it's going to work in humans. That's the basis, but we don't know. But as we're looking at the, I'm going to call it PT, pterostilbene. It affects the primary pathways of health. And I'm going to go into details of each one of these two, mTOR, AMPK, and sirtuins, actually SIRT1. But if I have happy pathways, I'm going to have a healthy and happy life. So it decreases apoptosis, which is a programmed cell death. In other words, I mentioned the telomere at the end of your DNA. At the end of that last one, when it separates, and now I don't have enough to replicate again, that cell should die a natural death. It's programmed to die. But sometimes things happen. They don't always go according to the program. And so as such, now I have a problem. I have to be able to do something. And so I can in fact make the apoptosis happen, great. If I don't, then I start having zombie cells, the senescence issue I talked about earlier. Well, PT induces apoptosis in the cell. So it decreases our risk of atherosclerosis, I think is what that one's supposed to say. But PT also mimics caloric restriction. As I was doing a lot of research several years ago, I came across the 72-hour fast. And the 72-hour fast allows autophagy to happen in the body. Well, a lot of people can't fast for 72 hours. And an option is what they call a caloric restricted diet. In other words, you're mimicking a CRM, a caloric restriction mimetic. And that tells the body, yeah, I'm eating food, but it's not affecting my metabolism as if I was not eating food. So it fools the body into thinking it's fasting. And in animal studies, CR, caloric restriction, has increased, everything from fruit flies on up 20, 50%. I mentioned limited human studies, but there is one caloric restriction and exercise and intervention and longevity was done a few years ago. But they found that the caloric restriction of about 25% for a couple of years had a significant measurable effect on slowing the rate of aging. Caloric restriction activates AMPK, that's AMP activated protein kinase, and SIRT1, sirtuin-1. So those two pathways are pathways that if I can activate them and keep them going, I'm going to be a happy camper. My health is going to be good. The longevity pathway, SIRT1, AMPK, and mTOR. Let's talk about mTOR for a moment. I have mTOR. It's usually either in mammalian, but in most recent studies, you're seeing it mechanistic. Why? No real reason. They just changed it, but I've always known it as mammalian target of rapamycin. And that mTOR has a mTORC-C1 and NC2. And these are basically cellular command centers. They tell the cells what to do. So if I'm looking at mTOR in general, I'm looking at cellular growth, use of energy, repair itself. When I'm eating, not fasting, my mTOR tells my cells to focus on growth and repairs. But if I'm eating all the time and I keep my mTOR levels up high, it actually activates the aging processes. And so now I'm starting to increase my visualization, my risk, everything that would normally just slowly move down the trail being expedited. But when mTOR is low, when you're fasting, now you're turning on autophagy. I mentioned 72-hour fast. Autophagy starts at about 18 hours incrementally and about 100% at 72 hours. So you're working up. And this is where the trash truck shows up at every cell in the body, has a cell dump out all the garbage that's in there, all the trash, recycles what it can recycle, and basically gives that cell a brand new home. It's now spick and span, ready to roll. So I have times where I don't want to fast for 40 days because I'll die. There are a certain amount of time that I can fast for and be very good for the body. But if I fast too long, then I start depleting a lot of issues. So it's a delicate balance. So I need to balance between high and low mTOR, or basically between autophagy and mTOR. So if I never fast, I'm never allowing my body to clean itself up. If I'm fasting all the time and I end up going beyond a healthy extent, then I'm going to have health issues from that. Another anti-aging pathway is AMPK, and it tells the body what energy to use when and how much. It's basically the energy sensor in the body, in the cells. In laboratory testing, they found that by turning on AMPK, we can increase the lifespan in animals by about 20%. AMPK shrinks your body fat, it lowers inflammation, lowers your blood sugar, lowers your blood lipids, your fat levels. AMPK is a good one to have turned on. They also found out that AMPK suppresses what we typically associate with Alzheimer's, the beta amyloid protein plaque and the tau tangles. Those are two manifestations in our brains of people with Alzheimer's. So if I can turn on AMPK, it's going to suppress that ability of that beta amyloid precursor that actually creates that protein plaque. And the same thing with the tau tangles. It limits AMPK, limits the oxidative stress, it promotes autophagy, it increases cell survival during oxygen deprivation. And this pterostilbene from blueberries activates AMPK. Mentioned that autophagy is one that cleans out the cells and recycles the usable parts. Super critical for cells. It's a major benefit to life. I've been doing not successful every single month, but for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been doing a 72-hour fast, 72 up to about 220 hours. But most months I do 70, 100, 120. It just sort of depends. I go literally day by day. I don't push. I'm going to do 120 hours. No, that's not what I do. I do every day. If I'm feeling good, I keep going. If I'm not, I stop. So I kind of judge how well I'm doing. Now, I've found that I can't automatically turn on and off my body's ability to fast. I can. If I want to go cold turkey right now and not eat anything the rest of the day, I can do that. Can I do that for 3 days? Probably. But if I say next Monday I'm going to start fasting, and I tell my wife or I tell my daughter or I tell someone, now I have an accountability issue. I have something that I'm committing to. I can usually do that. But again, not everybody can fast. So maybe intermittent diet where you're fasting 16, 18, 20 hours a day, one meal a day kind of program. Now you're at least starting the autophagy on a daily basis. In fact, people have found that they lose weight when they eat one meal a day, even if that one meal includes everything that they would normally eat in 3 meals a day. And that's because you allow this extra amount of time for the body to rest, relax, and do the things that it needs to do. However, there are some times that autophagy does not always do a complete job at every cell in the body. So the trash truck shows up, asks you to dump out all the trash you got. Well, maybe the cell's a little bit lazy. It gives you a couple bags, but it leaves a couple other bags in there. So I don't have a spick and span cell when I'm done. Autophagy thinks it's done, but it's not, because it doesn't actually go in there and do an inspection. So I end up with some junk still left in my cells, these undigested, oxidized pieces of junk. And they're all pushed together into lysosomes. And a lysosome is it's a collecting place. It's actually a little vacuum. Let's look at it as a little vacuum cleaner. And they go around and they do that last little bit of cleanup. But if I start pushing stuff into them and I'm not changing the filter as part of the trash rehaul, I'm starting to now gum up the works, so to speak. And if I'm starting to gum up the works with these lysosomes because I'm now pushing a bunch of junk into them, I have what's basically called a lipofuscin. And this lipofuscin, over time, if it builds up enough, can become toxic. So I start clogging these lysosomes and it starts affecting the health and the function of my cells. And so that's another one that we need to be aware of. So the lipofuscin increases oxidation. So if there's a way that the lipofuscin is left unchecked, then it's going to rinse and repeat itself again and again and again in the next cell, and next cell, and next cell. So lipofuscin is something that we really want to be able to control from the very beginning. There's a lot of studies out there, not a lot, a few studies out there right now starting to say that this lipofuscin may actually be an initial start of Alzheimer's disease. When I was doing my Alzheimer's book, that was not one of the ones that I came across. It was just something I came across here recently. But the pterostilbene in blueberries reduces lipofuscin, reduces oxidation, promotes autophagy, and it works energetically with other stilbenes, in this particular case, resveratrol. So, the pterostilbene in blueberries also activates what's called SIRT1, a silent inflammation regulator. There's 7 of them. SIRT1 is the primary health one, although SIRT3 also helps a little bit. But the sirtuins, they cross over, there's 7 of them, and they cross over many different parts of the body: gene expression, aging, DNA repair, metabolism, apoptosis, and more importantly, for us, anything that promotes and supports mitochondrial health and function. That's what keeps us healthy. That's what keeps us a longer life. So the pterostilbene in blueberries activates the SIRT1, and it also activates SIRT3. The number 3 vital move, carnosine. These are 2 amino acids called a dipeptide. There's over 1,000 studies published on them. Great thing to have in the body. Our bodies make it, but we can actually create it from the stuff that we eat. It reduces and blocks glycation. It rejuvenates old cells. Glycation occurs when sugar combines with proteins, DNA, and fats, and that's what we're calling these toxic compounds, these AGEs, advanced glycation end products. Now, they may look good, they may taste good, but they're not what we need all the time. Can you have barbecue once a week? Yeah, probably not a big deal. Can you have barbecue 7 nights a week? Probably not a wise thing to do. So we want to look at how we prepare our meals, and I've talked about this in several other presentations, but a lower temperature, high heat causes the sugars to combine with the proteins and the fats. And so that's where your glycations happen. I put that steak on the grill, I put a little bit of barbecue sauce on it, the sugar in there. That's going to heat up and cause a black mark on the steak or chicken or whatever. And that's how we know what we have. The AGEs, they damage our cells, our tissues, and our organs. And it used to be thought that once I have AGEs in my body, I can't get rid of them. I think that's been disproved to a little degree. I've read a few things that can help get them out of the body. But once they're in there, they can create a lot of damage. And people who have problems with blood sugar, those diabetics, they find that AGEs form a lot faster in those people. So if you're diabetic, the way your food is prepared is going to become a major factor in your long-term health. The test they use, the HbA1c, that measures whether you're diabetic or not, actually can measure to some extent the level of glycation you have in your body. Well, it turns out that carnosine is actually an anti-aging and an anti-glycation agent, as it's created in our bodies. But like most other things, we get older, we make less and less of it. So it's a supplement you can take. You can also get it from certain foods. Number 4, and we're rolling right on down the road here for number 6. Number 4 is lithium. We used to think lithium was used to treat mental illness many years ago. In fact, just 5 years ago, it was the nutrient of the year, and for many reasons. They found out that if they fed a lithium supplement to fruit flies, that it extended their life by 5 to 20%. But if they took a supplement of lithium combined with rapamycin and some senolytics, these are compounds that promote getting rid of zombie cells, that they actually fed these same fruit flies, the life extension was almost 50%. Now, we use rapamycin nowadays as an anti-rejection drug, but rapamycin also stimulates AMPK. It's an anti-aging and a lot of things with that. So, in fact, I think I just saw a routine on rapamycin, and I'm not going to go down that road. But the other thing is probably even a bigger item for us is that we have this thing in our body called the glycogen synthase kinase 3, GSK3. Well, when I take lithium, very, very, very low dose, we're not talking about the lithium doses that people take for their mental treatment. But if I'm taking a very, very low dose, and they sell them this way as a low dose lithium, it regulates the GSK3. The GSK3 controls our cells' response to a lot of different things that are going on. Our body metabolism, our risk of disease. So in other words, if I start getting GSK3 that becomes dysfunctional, which can happen, then I start looking at increased risk of disease and other things. So if I can use lithium to regulate my GSK3, then I lower my risk of disease. Again, longer life, healthier life. But that risk of disease are the ones associated with cancers, Alzheimer's, diabetes, mood disorders. But lithium inhibits the GSK3 activity. Number 5, resveratrol. We get that in red wine, grapes, a few other foods. Is a polyphenol, been touted forever as an anti-aging property. However, resveratrol, along with curcumin and several other really, really good supplements, doesn't have a very good track record of getting into the body. It's not very bioavailable. But if I add piperine, which is a black pepper extract, all of a sudden it becomes like 2,000% more bioavailable in the body. So if I buy my resveratrol or my curcumin or the other products and it has piperine in it, then I know that I'm actually getting a very good dose of that resveratrol. Now, resveratrol activates the SIRT1. We talked about that. Reduces oxidative stress and inflammation. It improves mitochondrial function. And it's a major fighter of free radical damage at the cellular level. Great, great, great antioxidant. It inhibits mTOR, which is what we want. It promotes autophagy, which is what we want. And they found out that the resveratrol molecule actually attaches directly to the mTOR and assists other components by attaching to that too. So you're ending up with less active mTOR that allows us to increase our longevity and reduce the risk of disease as we get older. In this particular thesis, piperine increases the effectiveness of resveratrol by over 200%. On curcumin, it's over 2,000%. But the basis is that with the piperine, it gets more resveratrol into your body, allows it to stay there longer where it needs to be. Okay, getting down here almost to the last couple, 3 slides. Curcumin. It's a polyphenol usually found in turmeric. And if you're cooking with curcumin, in other words, you buy curcumin in the store, and I do that occasionally, just add a lot of extra black pepper to whatever you're cooking, because you're not going to find natural piperine in natural curcumin, turmeric. So just a hint. But a lot of anti-aging studies with curcumin, and curcumin is one of the 2 molecules that I found that when you start looking at pain control, it works very, very well at the site. And I did, I think, a 3 or 4 part series on pain, how pain actually activates at the cellular level at the point of trauma or whatever. And when you can control that level of inflammation that would normally generate arachidonic acid and start the process of pain, curcumin is one of the 2. The other one is gamma mangosteen. It's a part of the mangosteen rind, and there's a word for it. I can't think of it. Doesn't matter. But anyway, gamma mangosteen and curcumin are 2 that are very, very, very good pain stopping agents. But in the anti-aging study, they found out that it increased lifespan by about 28%. Again, we're talking primarily animals. But in addition to piperine, you can also find curcumin with fenugreek. And that is another one that allows the bioavailability of curcumin to actually get into the body. And they're also finding too, and I thought this is pretty interesting, was that if we can shut down the loss of telomere as cell replicates, that's great, because that's going to give us a longer age, a healthier age. But they're starting to notice that this curcumin may actually add length to your telomere. And so that is something that is pretty critical, because if you can stop the loss of your telomere at the bottom of your DNA, then that's a major improvement. If I can actually add a little bit to it, that's even a better one. The general term senolytics comes from senescence, as things age. Senolytics are compounds that can go in and basically help the immune system get rid of these zombie cells. These are cells that have not died a natural death, but are now free agents, and they're out there. They actually create a lot of havoc in the body. Well, curcumin is a senolytic. It inhibits what they call the nuclear factor kappa B, the NFKB. When I reduce the NFKB function, I'm reducing inflammation, I'm reducing the mTOR activity, and it's a natural activator of the AMPK. And I think this is just about toward the end. Curcumin also is a great, this I mentioned earlier with regard to pain. It reduces oxidative stress and chronic inflammation. If I'm looking at an issue where I have, let's say I jammed my thumb in a door, missed where I thought I was going, and now all of a sudden I have some level of, it hurts. And if I look at it, I'm starting to see swelling, I'm starting to see redness, tenderness, it hurts. It may have a little bit of heat attached to it. I'm getting the results of my autoimmune system responding to that trauma in the body. Well, curcumin will actually short circuit that whole thing, whereas the autoimmune system comes in and starts doing its job, but curcumin and the gamma-mangostin will actually shut off that whole process and not even allow it to occur. So now I don't have the swelling, I have full functionality. I may still be able to feel my joint and feel something there, but the ability to shut down the inflammatory and oxidative stresses and allow the body to heal itself does it much, much faster. It protects, curcumin also acts as an anti-glycation agent, activates autophagy, and it balances the health of the mitochondria. And anything that we do to help support our mitochondria, absolutely something you want to be doing. So as I'm wrapping up the show today, and there's lots of things you can do besides these 6. My show today is about awareness and education. We could have taken it on for 10 or 12, but I figured 6 would probably take us just about here toward the end of the show. Again, just don't start taking lithium because it will do something or something else. Just talk to your doctor, talk to your pharmacist. The pharmacists, I find, have great knowledge of something, and your doctor may be aware of it, but your pharmacist is the absolute person, particularly when you're saying, if I'm going to take lithium low dose, is that going to affect my blood pressure medicine? Ask the question. Just don't start taking something because you can. So these are the things that I think can help us do now, even if you're in your 70s or 80s. You start doing some of these things, you're starting to make a difference in keeping the same health you have, improving it incrementally as you get older. And that I am going to call a quit for today and catch you all next week. Take care, y'all. Bye now.
What if one simple skill could change the way you connect with the world? What if listening could open doors to deeper relationships, stronger businesses, and a better you? Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the Listening Mentor, brings you USA Global TV and Radio, a space where voices are heard, ideas are shared, and global communities thrive. Through the Elevated Listeners courses and books, you'll master the power of listening, set boundaries with confidence, and transform conversations into opportunities. Join us. Listen, learn, elevate. Whether you're a leader, a coach, a business owner, or someone seeking stronger connections, your journey starts today. Subscribe, learn, and transform today.
In a world craving connection, one platform dared to dream bigger. USA Global TV and Radio, a beacon for global voices, authentic storytelling, and elevated listening. Led by visionary Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the journey from a spark to a global force is now captured in one inspiring book. Honored with YouTube's Silver Creator Award for surpassing 100,000 subscribers. Discover the evolution, the challenges, the triumphs, and the unstoppable spirit that created a global movement. Executive producer Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang. Creative director Paul Garcia. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Now an Amazon #1 new release in paperback and ebook. Broadcasting Brilliance, the evolution of USA Global TV and Radio, is inspiring readers around the world. Join the movement that's redefining global media one story at a time.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.